Can a bike share system that costs me on average $2 a month be better than my custom built $4,000+ bike that I love near and dear to my heart? The answer is yes, and that's a problem. Taiwan has the best bike share system in the world, and I hate it because it's so good. Taiwan's YouBike is so good that I ride it as much, if not even more, than my own personal bike. Speaking of my own personal bike, this video is sponsored by Wabi Cycles. The most fun that I've ever had throwing a leg over a bike comes from Wabi Cycles. Stick around until the end of the video to learn more about them. For a bike share service to be successful, it needs to hit 3 marks. It needs to be convenient, affordable, and give the customers a high quality experience. Taiwan is the land of convenience, between actually convenient stores on every corner, some of the best public transit in the world, and now the YouBike bike share. The YouBike stations are in every major city of Taiwan, and usually you're no further than a 5 to 7 minute walk from a YouBike station. At most, you're about a 10-minute walk from one. It's extremely accessible. They're everywhere you go. The only problem that I see is that during peak hours, the stations tend to be empty if you're in a residential area, or if you're by schools in particular during rush hour of going back home around 3 to 4 p.m., they also tend to be pretty empty. YouBike also has a handy map that shows you any YouBikes in your area and how full or how empty each station is. Speaking of that app, signing up is super easy. You can do it all on the app. All you need is a Taiwan phone number, your passport, or your resident card if you're a resident. And they even give you all the instructions of how to sign up right here in a handy dandy QR code. They want to make it as convenient and user-friendly as possible for you to get on YouBike. Or if that's not convenient enough for you, if you just want to go to a YouBike station and rent one, you could also sign up on one of the kiosks that they have at every station. But nobody would use YouBike if it wasn't affordable. It could be convenient, sure, but you have to be able to pay for it. And that's where it's really blows my mind, because these are some pretty high quality bikes, and we'll get to that in a minute. But if you ride a YouBike for under 30 minutes, it's absolutely free. And last time I rented a YouBike and actually had to pay for it, I rented it for about 2 hours and I had to spend a little bit over $1. These things are insanely affordable. And because Taiwan is so compact and dense, you're usually not biking any more than 5 kilometers at most. Usually in Taiwan, if it's over 5 kilometers, you're either driving, taking a scooter, or taking public transit, not taking a YouBike. But you can totally ride this thing across town. I have certainly done this and not pay a dime for it. That is, if you got the big muscle to get across town in less than 30 minutes. But I would say 90% of the time that I rent a YouBike, it is absolutely free, just because everything is so close and compact. All of the YouBikes are designed for city riding and designed to fit as many people as possible and be as comfortable to ride while not being too slow for as many people as possible. It's a city bike. It's a towny 3-speed Dutch bike. And the amazing thing is that they were able to design the YouBike that really pleases most people that will ride a bike. Now, if you're a cyclist and you're expecting, the most top-end specs, you're not going to get it here. This is a pretty basic but reliable, about $700 bike, which is better than the vast majority of bike shares in the world. They made it comfortable for most people. I've seen children as young as 7 years old riding this YouBike, and I've seen people as old as, in their mid-80s riding YouBikes, having fun, getting from point A to point B comfortably and safely and reliably. These things are amazing. YouBike is a subsidiary company of one of the biggest bike companies in the world, Giant. And Giant makes and runs and maintains all of these YouBikes. Not only were they able to make bikes that are good, convenient, useful city bikes for pretty much everybody, they were also able to make bikes that were very low maintenance and convenient to work on. Down from the fine details of speccing the bike with a 3-speed internally geared hub, so you still have gears, but you have it in a low maintenance package, to specifically molding the fenders to fit this frame set so that they're super easy to install, to covering the chain with a chain guard to both keep it cleaner when it rains and also to keep people's pant legs clean, to having a kickstand that doesn't even require you to lift up this moderately heavy bike, but also doubles as a stand for maintenance. Everything about the YouBike is super clever and super useful and convenient, both for the riders and the people maintaining the bikes. And they do maintain them pretty well. And YouBike/Giant also uses a super cool method to tag bikes that need maintenance. If you ride a bike and you find that it's crunchy, or the brakes aren't working, or the tires need a little bit of air, or it's not shifting super smoothly, all of these things that they do on a regular basis, but if your bike in particular comes out of adjustment, all you gotta do is use this incredibly cleverly designed one-handed C-post, and then when you're at the station, just turn it around all the way, and then YouBike will know that that bike needs to be taken back to the warehouse to be worked on. Also, this C-post, super easy, and it doesn't wiggle at all unless it's at the very, very bottom, so that you could turn it around. One-handed operation, really nice. Another really cool and convenient feature that they have is a built-in lock. So all you gotta do, turn the fork, and then put this metal thing into this hole, and then it locks the bike electronically. Like, that thing is not coming out. Then if you want to unlock the bike, you hit this button and you unlock it the same way that you got the bike from the station, with your Easy card, which everybody has because it's so useful and convenient to have in Taiwan for payment and everywhere. And the bike also has a generator hub for the integrated front and rear lights to keep you safe on the road. Keep in mind that YouBike isn't for cyclists. It's for people to get on a bike and to get from point A from point B. It's for transportation. It's not for sport. And yeah, you may be yelling at me that, oh, your C-post is too low, but this is as high as the C-post goes. Like, I'm a tall dude, I'm 6 foot. People in Taiwan generally aren't that tall, so yeah, it's not going to be a perfect fit for everybody. But it does fit most people. It is a reliable transportation machine. And also, it looks like a cruiser, but you can really push this thing. Like, when I'm riding this thing in traffic, I can easily keep up or even pass scooters on the road. It's really like Giant and YouBike have thought of every single pain point of owning a bike and just completely eliminated them into this package of convenience. They eliminated the need of buying a bike, they eliminated the maintenance costs, they eliminated having to worry about parking the bike, both at and away from the station. It's kind of sad to say, but when it comes down to it, Giant and YouBike have just made owning a bike in a city in Taiwan absolutely obsolete. Like, I ride this thing just as much, if not more, than my bike that I spent a ton of money on, that I packed up to fly from the United States to Taiwan. My bike, it's 100% better for me. But just because of the convenience of the YouBike, I end up riding this thing a hell of a lot. And that's a problem, because I'm a sponsored rider. The YouBike is so convenient that any time that I ride my bike just for transportation, between like unlocking it and maintaining it and getting it down the elevator or out of the basement garage where there's a ton of mosquitoes, and having to figure out where to lock this dang thing where it's not in anybody's way and where people won't get angry for me for leaving my bike, I just think like I should have just ridden a YouBike. And like, that is a problem because I love my bike so much, and this thing is replacing it. There's still a lot of benefits to owning a bike. My bike is just way more fun. Like, I'm not getting a fixed gear brakeless bike share. The main benefit of owning a bike, I just ran into this problem earlier. There were just no bikes for me at the station. If I own my own bike, like, that's never a problem. And also, you can go directly from point A to point B. There's no having to walk to a YouBike station, having to ride to another YouBike station, then walking to your destination. And then there's also some problems with YouBike that I've run into occasionally, like going to a station that is the most convenient for my destination, and then it's just full of bikes. There's nowhere to park it and to return the bike. Or like earlier, I got to this park, I returned the bike, and then I remembered, oh wait, I forgot my script for this video at home, and there's restrictions on the YouBike. They won't let me rent it, so now I have to walk home. They do this because if you rent a YouBike for under 30 minutes, it's free. So they want to prevent people from dropping off a YouBike, swapping it out, and getting a free ride. They lock you out of renting a YouBike for 15 minutes, which they don't tell you, by the way. My girlfriend had to look this up online, and she told me Taiwanese people's favorite pastime is saving money, and giant just locked them out of that, but also locked a customer like me. So I just had to walk back home because it was like either wait 15 minutes at the park or I walk 15 minutes back home. So I just walked home. And then right now, YouBike is also in a very awkward position where there's a YouBike 1.0, the orange ones, and a YouBike 2.0. Just for the record, I like the 1.0 ones better because they don't have this giant head unit that makes it feel like you're steering a bus like on the 2.0 versions. And also the key for the 1.0 version is a physical key. I just like mechanical things over electronic things. I know I'm wearing an Apple Watch, but go watch this video. But mostly the 1.0 just feels a lot better to ride because it has a lot less weight on it and it feels like it's a lot zippier. But the annoying thing, the super annoying thing for most people being in this transition period from micro USB to USB-C that we're still doing in the year 2023, the transition from YouBike 1.0 to YouBike 2.0 is that they use different stations and they're only slowly phasing out the 1.0 stations and the 1.0 bikes. So my girlfriend and her friend, we rode YouBike 1.0 because they were better and just to go for a ride from New Taipei City, which is a different city than Taipei, into Taipei. And then when we got there, we found out that there's absolutely nowhere to park the 1.0 YouBikes because they've already been completely phased out. The clock was ticking and we had to pay for them, so we just had to ride back to New Taipei City. And that's also annoying right now because they use different apps, different stations, and they're not maintaining the 1.0s, which are better in my experience for a cyclist. So yeah, YouBike is really freaking good. It's so good that it's making owning a bike in Taiwan obsolete, even if it is a $4,000 plus sponsored bike that I own. I am riding this thing as much, if not more, than my own bike that I love to death, just because it's so convenient. This bike is really the perfect bike for a bike share, and they run it impeccably. They run a really tight ship between maintaining, they try to make sure that busy stations are topped up on bikes, having a really good spread of YouBike stations to make it as convenient as possible, and also keeping the price really cheap. Like insanely cheap. It's like, it just doesn't make sense to own a bike here. YouBike is the best bike share system in the world, and it's taking a big part of my life away, and that's why I hate it. But speaking of that big part of my life, this video is sponsored by Wabi Cycles. Wabi's bikes are so good that I only own one bike, and it's a Wabi. Like, I don't need to have N+1 bikes if all I want to do is ride my favorite bike. Part of what makes Wabis so supple and comfortable and springy and lively to ride is that they construct their bikes meticulously by hand, where every millimeter and every fraction of a millimeter counts. And you know what else you get with that? You get consistent tire clearance. When they say 32C can fit, they mean 32C can fit. When they say 45C can fit on the Thunder, they mean it. There's no variance there. Their bikes are constructed out of lightweight, sturdy, and lively Reynolds 725 tubing, or Columbus Spirit tubing, which is some of the lightest and thinnest steel tubing that money can buy. Be sure to check out Wabi Cycles, linked in the description, to get on the buttery fixed gear of your dreams. A Fixie famous shoutouts to Julian Corona, Brandon Black, Brent David, Mario Perez, and Ted Onchi for helping to make these cycling videos possible through their support on Patreon. And remember that life is short, but don't make it shorter, so be sure to ride a bike, even if it's not yours, every day to be reasonably dangerous. I mean, don't like steal a bike, but like use a bike share or something.